Hi guys, thank you for joining me on my channel. In this video, I'm going to show you some tips on how to write an advantages and disadvantages essay. And in this video, I'm going to show you the two most common types of the questions. For example, you can see in these two questions, the difference is in, for example, in some cities, people are choosing to travel by bike. What are the advantages and disadvantages of this trend? In some cities, people are choosing to travel by bike. Do the advantages of this trend outweigh its disadvantages? So can you see the difference? The topics are the same, but the questions are different. Now, for example, in the first question, what are the advantages and disadvantages of this trend? For this question, you are asked to discuss the advantages and disadvantages. I can say you are going to list some advantages and some disadvantages of a topic. But for the second one, do the advantages of this trend outweigh its disadvantages? This is a question for your opinion. So you have two tasks. The first one is to list the advantages and disadvantages. And the second task is to give your opinion on whether the advantages or disadvantages outweigh the other. Now let's work on the structure for the first type of question. Any essay includes at least 3 paragraphs. The first one is introduction. The second one is body paragraph. But for this particular question, I'm going to have 2 body paragraphs, supporting paragraph 1 and supporting paragraph 2. And the last one, that is the conclusion. For the introduction, you have at least 2 sentences. In the first sentence, you are going to paraphrase the question. I have a video on paraphrasing the question, and I'm going to talk about this later in this video. The second sentence is going to be the outline sentence. What are you going to say in this sentence? You can talk about the advantages and disadvantages in general. Now let's move on supporting paragraph 1 and 2. For these 2 paragraphs, you can choose to talk about advantages first or disadvantages first. It depends on you. But for each paragraph, you're going to list at least 2 advantages or disadvantages, because in the question you see advantages and disadvantages are in plural form. Okay? So for the first sentence of a supporting paragraph, it is a topic sentence. But for this particular question, you can say you're going to talk about the advantages. And for supporting paragraph 2, in the topic sentence, you say you're going to talk about disadvantages. In sentence number 4, you can explain how that is an advantage. And then you can give an example in sentence number 5. And remember, you can give 2 or 3 advantages in a paragraph, but you can choose to give an example for any advantage that you like. You don't have to give 2 or 3 examples. And you do the same thing for supporting paragraph 2. For conclusion, you can give a summary of the main points. You can talk about advantages and disadvantages in general. I mean, you are going to paraphrase the question again. The second type of question is a combination of discussion and opinion essay. Now first, let's clarify the word outweigh. For this type of question, you can understand the verb outweigh in 2 ways. The first one, you can think it is number. For example, there are more advantages or more disadvantages of this trend. For the second one, it is about the importance. For example, although there are more disadvantages to traveling by bike, but the advantages are greater. I mean, it is more, although there are only one or two advantages, but its importance is greater, it is of greater importance. So you can say the advantages of this trend outweigh its disadvantages. Now, let's work on some advantages and disadvantages of traveling by bike. In this part of the video, I'm going to show you how to find ideas for an essay. For example, this topic. You can go online and type in the topic like advantages of riding a bike. You can see there are a lot of things you can have a look at. For example, this page, 15 benefits of cycling, where cycling is good for weight loss, fitness, legs and mind. You can find idea, you can learn some new vocabulary, the topical language for any topic. Very good for you. Okay. For example, for this topic, the disadvantages include risk of injuries or road accidents, unfavorable weather conditions, attractive web target, and all of these ideas you can find on the internet. For advantages, you can see we have health benefits and environment benefits. Now let's work on the structure for the second type of question. For this type of question, you also have 4 paragraphs. The first one is the introduction. For the first sentence, you are going to paraphrase the question, but for the second one, it is somehow different from the first one. In this thesis statement, you have to state which one outweighs the other. For example, whether the advantages or disadvantages outweigh the other. You have to state clearly in this thesis statement. For the 2 body paragraphs, 1 paragraph is for the weaker side and 1 paragraph is for the stronger side. But remember to put the weaker side before the stronger side. Another difference is that you have to explain why. For example, in the weaker side paragraph, you have to explain why it is not strong. And for the second one, you have to explain why it is strong. I'm going to clarify it in the. For the conclusion, it is also different. Besides summarizing the main points, you have to restate your position. You have to state again which one outweighs the other. Okay? In this part of the video, I'm going to show you how to use a very useful kind of dictionary, that is thesaurus. For example, you go online and you type thesaurus.com. There is kind of synonym dictionary. You can find synonym or antonym for any words that you like. For example, you type in the word disadvantage. Disadvantage. So you can find many synonyms of the word disadvantage. And remember to check the meaning. For example, if you want to use a word, for example, harm or prejudice or damage, and you're not sure whether it is suitable in a certain situation, a certain context, you can go to Cambridge Dictionary online and check the use of a particular word. And in this case, disadvantage, you can see it has a lot of synonyms. For example, downside, drawback, minus or minor point. Okay? So for disadvantage, you can say drawback, downside, or minus point. For advantage, you can use benefit, merit, good, strong, or plus point. For the verb outweigh, you can use other verb like eclipse, upset, or be more significant. In this kind of essay, you need 3 synonyms for advantage, 3 synonyms for disadvantage, and 3 synonyms for outweigh. That's enough. You don't need to learn too many words and you don't know how to use them, or you can't remember all of them. So try to remember 3 synonyms for each type. That's enough. Now let's work on the introduction. First, have a look at the question again. In some cities, people are choosing to travel by bike. Do the advantages of this trend outweigh its disadvantages? And I'm going to show you how to paraphrase the question. Cycling has become more and more common in some particular places in the world. Although there are different views about riding a bike, I believe the drawbacks of such trends are eclipsed by its merits. So can you find synonyms or different structure that I used to just express the same idea in this introduction? So can you see how I have changed, how I have paraphrased the question? Now first, I have used synonyms, and then I change the structure of a sentence. For example, I put travel by bike in the position of the subject, and I use another phrase. Instead of saying traveling by bike, I say cycling. People are choosing now has become more and more common. In some city has become in some particular places in the world. Besides, in this statement, instead of using advantages, I use merits. Disadvantages has become drawbacks, and the verb outweigh has been replaced by are eclipsed by. That is a common way of paraphrasing the question. You can use synonyms, you can change the structures. Okay. Now let's continue with main body paragraph 1. That is the weaker side. And I'm going to show you how I use this structure for the paragraph that I have written. Cyclists are exposed to certain dangers in modern cities. Firstly, there's a risk of injuries or even death as car ownership is rocketing and roads have become increasingly congested. For example, in Vietnam, no special lane for cyclists and driver behavior are the main deterrents to bike riders. Also, unfavorable weather conditions can be a minor obstacle, as bike riders have almost no protection from scorching sun or pouring rain. City-dwelling cyclists can even face a particular tiresome problem when the bikes become attractive targets. However, all of those problems can be avoided if a certain degree of carefulness is applied. So, can you find a topic sentence, the example, and how I explain why it is not strong? And can you see how I have connected the sentences together in a paragraph? What connectors have I used? So let's have a look. The first sentence is called a topic sentence. Cyclists are exposed to certain dangers in modern cities. In this case, I have used the word dangers instead of disadvantages. And how many reasons, how many dangers have I mentioned in this paragraph? Can you find them? Now, based on the connector, you can see there are three dangers. The first one, I use the word firstly, then I use also, and I use even. And how many examples have I given? Just one. Yeah. For example, in Vietnam, no special lanes for cyclists and driver behavior are the main deterrents to bike riders. The example that I have given for the first drawback, and how I explain the last sentence. However, all of those problems can be avoided if a certain degree of carefulness is applied. Although there are a lot of danger, there are a lot of drawbacks to riding in a big city, all of those things can be avoided if you are careful. And I also do the same thing for main body paragraph 2, that is the stronger side. Now I'll show you how I apply it to my paragraph. Despite some drawbacks mentioned above, riding brings numerous benefits to both riders and the environment. In terms of health benefits, cycling can improve your well-being physically and mentally. As cycling combines physical exercise with being outdoor and exploring new views, raising your heart rate and getting the blood pumping around your body. This activity can help to boost your mood and cut your risk of developing major illnesses such as heart disease and cancer. A study by the YMCA showed that people who had a physically active lifestyle had a well-being score of 32% higher than inactive individuals. Besides, cycling together with walking is the most environmentally friendly way to get around because this means that transport creates no air pollution or carbon emissions. These are the two greatest plus points that no other means of transport can offer. So, can you find a topic sentence? Can you find the example and the sentence in which I explain what is strong? And can you find the connectors that I use to create coherence for my paragraph? So let's see. For the topic sentence, I have used the first sentence and I have changed the word advantages into benefits to avoid repeating words. And I also have used despite some drawbacks mentioned above to connect this paragraph with the first paragraph. For example, you can see a study by the YMCA showed that people who had a physically active lifestyle had a well-being score of 32% higher than inactive individuals. That is an example. And how many advantages can you see in this paragraph? Only two. Now, in terms of health benefits and then besides. And I also use the last sentence. These are the two greatest plus points that no other means of transport can offer, to explain why the advantages are greater or more significant than the disadvantages. Now let's move on to the last part of the essay, that is the conclusion. In conclusion, it appears to me that the benefits of cycling are more significant than its downsides. And now let's have a look at the introduction. So you see, I have paraphrased the introduction and make it a conclusion. Instead of saying I believe, I say it appears to me, and I have changed drawbacks into downsides, merit into benefits, and are eclipsed by has been replaced by are more significant than. So it's important that you shouldn't repeat the words for structure. You can paraphrase by using synonyms and change the structure. And that is a complete essay of 295 words. If you have any questions, just go to my website and post your questions there. And that's the end of the lesson. Thank you for watching my video.